Honourable Member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's always a joy to speak in this House on important issues, and particularly at this point in time when we've just presented from this Conservative government Economic Action Plan 2015. And Mr. Speaker, I will be sharing my time with the great member to the north of me here in Bruce. Mr. Speaker, what are budgets? Budgets, in whether it's in our business or whether it's in government or in our personal, you look back a little bit and assess what has worked, what hasn't worked. Take a look at your business plan, and then you move forward with the analysis of what you have, what the requirements are in your business, and in this case, in the government. And then you secure with that what is needed for the present. What is needed for the present, and when you have that, you always keep. And I have to say, Mr. Speaker, that since 2006, we've had the incredible leadership of a Prime Minister in this country, and also the finance ministers of this country and the new finance minister that just presented his first budget, that not only have the intuition of what is coming, but what is needed, but more importantly, Mr. Speaker, how do we move forward so that as a country and as a government, we can continue on the path that we've been on? So in 2006, when we got elected, there was a budget that came out that was presented, and in 2006, 2007, and 2008, this Conservative government focused around how are we going to start to continue and pay down on that debt, in which we did almost $40 billion over those first three budgets. Mr. Speaker, we did that with the initiative of starting, for example, of lowering the taxes. But then in 2008, actually, when we had talked as a government about there was something coming that didn't look very good, and it wasn't just in Canada, but it was an international recession that struck in 2008, stayed for 2009. In 2010, this country was coming out of it. I might add, Mr. Speaker, that this country of Canada was the only country that was basically coming out of it in the industrialized world. But we made an agreement in 2008 because what was happening was a worldwide recession. Now, I don't want to overestimate or underestimate the significance of that event. I know in the 90s, when the Liberals were in power, there was a blimp in the economy. They actually, I believe, manufactured this huge issue about how bad it was for Canada. But this wasn't. This actually was global-wide. And it reached deep into the pockets of everyone, every industry, every family, every business, every government. In fact, it was the worst since the Great Depression of the 30s. So when we did that, quite honestly, there was a lot of good discussion here in this House. And it was agreed by the parties that we needed to do something to help stimulate the economy. So we did. Now, we put forward one of the largest stimulus packages in Canadian history. There were guidelines that this government of ours put in place that it would be temporary for 2 years, because we actually wanted to see what was going to happen at the end of that. What happened is that businesses started to, because we had implemented a lower tax, giving back people the money that they needed to help, and to businesses to help stimulate the economy. And so here we go. We came out of that better than any country just about in the world. So we now have budget 2015. What's it called? It's called Canada's Action Plan 2015, like it was in 2014, Canada's Action Plan, in 2013, Canada's Action Plan, 2012, 2011, 2010. Why? Because our government has the true belief is that you build a plan around economic growth. Canada's Economic Action Plan is the reason why. We now have the lowest tax rate for individuals in this country in 50 years. It is why we have the lowest tax rate for our industry and our businesses and small businesses, the lowest that it has been. We're here to rebuild our country, and we have done it, but we're not done. And that's why you look to the future when you're building a budget. So this plan also looks not just at the present, it has a vision for the future of how are we going to build and help continue to create the jobs on top of the 1.2 million net new jobs that have been created by businesses in this country. We've created the environment. Governments don't create jobs that actually create much economic growth. Businesses do that. Individuals out in our country. Mr. Speaker, I come from Lambton, Kent, Middlesex. All of us will say we have our greatest ridings, and that's a proud statement that all of us should adhere to. My riding is quite honestly very, very much all small businesses and agriculture. And so when we look at what the significance of leaving the money in the taxpayer's the pockets is, Mr. Speaker, we have done what our people want and what small businesses want, and that is to give them an opportunity to grow and to hire people. So what have we done? Let's start with families, because the foundation of every country, the foundation of not just only my riding, but that doesn't matter if I lived in the rural riding that I do or whether I lived in the most urban riding. The foundation of this country, folks, is families, and those families run small businesses or work for the majority in small businesses. And what I know as a grandfather now and a father of 3 children, and I'm proud to say, Mr. Speaker, that by July we should have 10 grandchildren. I'm a little further behind my colleague who just announced yesterday that he has 32 grandchildren. What it does is focus on the significance of what families do for this country. And if we leave the money in their pockets, and as a government only take from people what we need to provide the services and run this country like a business, we're not a business. Governments will never be a business, but we should run them like a business with that same principle. And so when you do that, you look to families and say, what can we do to help make you a solid family and to leave money back in your pockets? Well, we've done a number of those things, particularly with over our tax cuts over the years that have taken it to about $3,400 less for a family of 4 than it was when we got elected in 2006, Mr. Speaker. On top of that, we've just added the universal child care benefits and program. Not only does it raise from 6 and under to $160 a month, Mr. Speaker, it goes from now 6 to 17, and it also talks about what we can do for income splitting for parents. Mr. Speaker, the greatest asset to many of these is also the tax-free savings account. And I'm sure I'll get some questions about that. And I see you've already given me the opportunity to say I should be hitting my conclusion. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to do that in conclusion. We made a promise to balance the budget, which we did. We made a promise to maintain a strong and stable economy. We promised to create jobs and promised to cut taxes. I'm proud to stand here today, Mr. Speaker, because not only did we say it, we've done it. So budget 2015 is a budget for hardworking, responsible Canadians, and Mr. Speaker, will make sure they receive what they deserve. Thank you very much, and I look forward to questions.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires? L'honorable député de Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier.
Je vous remercie beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je veux remercier mon collègue pour son discours. Par contre, ce que je trouve un peu problématique dans le budget qui nous a été présenté par le gouvernement conservateur, c'est l'absence de mesures concrètes pour offrir des services de garde abordables pour les familles canadiennes. C'est un élément qui est franchement absent. Le NPD, on a proposé un plan que le gouvernement ne semble pas tenir en considération. Alors, ils passent leur temps à se vanter d'avoir bonifié les prestations universelles pour garde d'enfants, mais ce qu'ils refusent de dire aux Canadiens, c'est que ces prestations-là seront considérées comme un revenu imposable, alors seront taxées directement. Alors, le gouvernement donne d'une main, mais ne se gêne pas pour reprendre de l'autre à la première occasion. Alors moi, j'aimerais ça comprendre ici pourquoi le gouvernement conservateur s'entête à taxer les familles canadiennes qui travaillent fort, qui ont besoin d'aide, alors que le plan du NPD de créer des places en garderie à 15 $ par jour, ça redonne de l'argent directement, tout de suite, dans les mains des familles canadiennes qui n'ont pas à dépenser des sommes hallucinantes pour s'assurer que leurs enfants reçoivent des bons soins de garde. Alors, j'aimerais comprendre la perspective du gouvernement. Pourquoi, pour eux, c'est correct de taxer les familles canadiennes et leur faire miroiter des faux avantages? Merci.
The honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Thank you very much, and I thank my honourable member for her question. And so I think maybe missed part of my comments is that we now have the lowest tax regime for individuals, and that's families, in 50 years. Actually goes back to Prime Minister Diefenbaker's time, another great conservative. It also, we talk about what we're doing. We believe, you see, that you should give the option, because I was still over on this side, I believe mums and dads actually are still the ones that should make the choice. Now, that may not be the belief of everyone, and that's fine. We just believe that that's it. So we now provide money for families. Every family in Canada, Mr. Speaker, every family in Canada with children now benefits from the universal child care program that we have. See, the $15 a day is a bit of a challenge for those that work night shifts, that have vacations, that work on weekends. Not ours. Actually, mums and dads make those decisions. They can hire someone to come in. They can use family. They can use, but they're the ones, Mr. Speaker, that are the ones that give them the choice. You see, there's a different ideology. We believe parents make the decisions. I don't think that the government should be making all the decisions for families.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The honourable member for Charlottetown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask this member about seniors living in poverty. He talked about the economic action plans, and it was either Economic Action Plan 2011 or Economic Action Plan 2012 that made the decision to increase the age of eligibility for the old age security and the guaranteed income supplement from 65 to 67. And the result of that is that poor seniors would receive a 2-year delay in receiving about $13,000 a year. So it was tantamount to reaching into their pocket and taking out $28,000. These are for our poorest, most vulnerable seniors. So my question for this member is, which of the measures in this budget is addressed to those vulnerable seniors who are being forced to pay more than their fair share to bring the budget into balance? What's going to help them? Will it be income splitting? Will it be the universal child care benefit? Will it be the increased limits on TFSAs, or the ability to have less tax on their registered retirement income funds? These are seniors living in poverty. Which one of those programs will benefit them the greatest?
The honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex. You only have about 40 seconds.
Thank you. I find that. Thank you very much, by the way, for your question. What the member forgot to mention also is that we've also increased the GIS for seniors. The GIS, as you know, part of the old age security, that will for those that in most need. What we know is that we will, and as every government has, Mr. Speaker, will have programs which we have for our seniors. We've actually now got the lowest ratio of people in poverty in Canada, less than 5%. So we have work to do. But I think to say that we haven't done, or Canada's not in a good position in terms of how we dealt with seniors is misleading. Thank you very much.